Hello everyone, my name is Fiza and I'll be continuing where Amar left off. The topic that I'm going to be talking about is min hashing. Suppose you have a document and you shingle it, meaning that you've created a set of strings of length k which are appearing in the document. Now what we want to accomplish is that we want to create short signatures that represent the sets while we also want to maintain the same similarity. And we can accomplish that by using min hashing. So this is just a bigger picture of what's actually going to happen, and we'll discuss everything in more detail in the coming slides. So the first thing that I want to show you is that I want to show you collection of sets as a characteristic matrix. So you can see there are 5 elements A, B, C, D, and E, and there are four documents which are represented as sets S1, S2, S3, and S4. Let's say S1 has A and D elements. So you'll see that there's a 1 in front of A and there's a 1 in front of D. This and S2 has a C element. So you can see there's a 1 in front of C and the rest are all zeros. The same thing will apply for S3 and S4, B, C, and E, while A, C, and D have 1, the rest are all zeros. So you can see this is a pretty sparse matrix. This is not how actually it's stored. So this is just for the sake of understanding. So now what we actually want to come to the point is that how are we going to compute the min hash values, right? So the idea behind it is that the rows are permuted randomly, and what we do is that we go from the top and we keep looking for 1. So wherever the first 1 in the column comes, we assign that element to the hash function of that column, right? And there are many independent functions that we can use to create the signature for each column. And this is just a representation of how the signature matrix will actually look like. So let's just discuss this with the help of an example. As you saw earlier, it was A, B, C, D, and E. Now we've permuted it randomly, B, E, A, D, C. So what we do now is that for each column, we go from the top and we keep looking for a 1. And so wherever we find a 1, we assign that value to the actual hash function of that column. So hash of S1 equals to A, hash of S2 equals to C because there's a 1 now. And we keep looking from the top. S3 has a 1 here, so it's B. And hash of S4 is basically A because the first one that comes in the column is here and it maps to this element. So you can see the idea is fairly simple. So let's talk about min hashing and Jaccard similarity. So the idea behind it is that min hashing should provide similar results to Jaccard similarity, even though it's smaller, but it should still kind of reflect the same similarity as Jaccard similarity. And some terms that we use is X rows, Y rows, and zeros. X rows are wherever there are ones in both columns, say S1 and S2 set, and they have both have the element, so we give them both 1 ones. And Y rows are wherever there's a 1 in each column. Zeros wherever there's a Z with a Z, wherever there's a 0 in both columns. So what we do over here, let's say hash of S1 equals to hash of S2. So there are X rows, Y rows, and zeros. So however, we compute the similarity of S1 comma S2 by having the intersection divided by the union. So intersections wherever there's 1 1 in both of the columns S1 and S2. So these are the X rows. So X divided by X plus Y, meaning wherever there's a 1. So X rows and Y rows are both going to come in the intersection. So and this is Jaccard similarity. And the same concept is going to be mapped with the min hash. So hash of S1 equals to hash of S2. What's the probability of that? We're obviously going to ignore 0 0 0 columns, 0 0 rows are basically ignored, but the idea is that basically now if we ignore the zeros, either a Y row or an X row could come. So if it's a Y row, it will mean that hash of S1 is not equal to S2 because the hash of S2 will be assigned a value that basically could be anywhere because a 1 could come anywhere next. But if both are 1 1, meaning that both of the hash functions are actually same because they'll be assigned the same element, right? So the probability is still same. It's basically X divided by X plus Y, meaning that X both the intersection divided by the union. So you can see it's similar to Jaccard similarity. And now let's just take a short example. So we have this matrix that has S1, S2, S3, and we give that to a hash function with permuted it very randomly and assigned it numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what we do is now we go to the smallest value over here, which is 1. And what we do is that we scan wherever there's 1. This means that that row is updatable in the signature matrix. Assume that this is empty. So let's say S2 and S4s are updatable. And what value are we going to update it? It's going to be updated with the 1, the value over here. So we're going to update S2 and S4 with 1 1. and these are empty, right? And so now what we go on to the next one, which is 2, and we see that there is a 1 in S1 and S3, right? So meaning that S1 and S3 can be updated with the value 2. So we did update it, right? And now our signature matrix is complete. However, we'll go ahead and check the 3 one as well, just to make sure you understand the concept. So you can see that S1 and S3 again is updatable, but with the number 3. So the idea is that we never really update a value that's currently in the signature matrix with the larger value. We always update it with the value that's smaller one, right? So technically we can't replace this and this with the 3 because 2 is smaller than 3. And again, we'll keep seeing it for 4, 5, 6, and 7, and you'll see that none of the values are going to be updated, and this will remain as our final signature matrix. And the algorithm says the same as well. So it's really simple. What we do is that we initialize our signature matrix with infinity values, and for each row what we do is that we compute the hash function, and we compute it for each row, and again we check for each column. And if C has 1 in each row, so what it does is that it checks the hash function, and if it's currently lesser to what's stored in the signature, it basically updates the signature with that hash value. And I know that this may sound a bit confusing, but don't worry, I'll give you a detailed example of how it's actually done. So detailed example is this one. So you can see our signature matrix is properly initialized with infinity values. This is our a table, so you can easily compute the hash values. This is h1 of x, h2 of x hash function. This is our first hash function. Second hash function, you can compute it using the row values. 0 plus 1 mod 5 is 1, 3 plus 1 mod 5 is 4, and again 3, let's compute it for row 3. So 3 into 3 is 9 plus 1, 10, 10 mod 5 is 0, so you can see it's 0. So you can easily compute these values. Now let's get onto the real thing. What we're going to do is we're going to scan it row by row, and we're going to see which rows are going to be updated in the signature matrix. So this is our initial signature matrix. We are going to check the row 0, and we can see S1 and S4 are updated, can be updated with the values 1 for H1 and 1 with H2. And so again we check them. So S1 has infinity and 1 is obviously less than infinity, so it can be replaced. So 1 comes over here. And again we check for H2, 1 is less than infinity, replace it here. For S4 now we're going to check, and now 1 can be replaced with infinity, so we replace it here. And then again we check for H2, 1 is here, and we can replace it with H2. So this is our resultant matrix. And as you can see, S1 and S4 have been updated with H1 and H2 because they were smaller than the currently what's stored in the signature matrix. Now let's go for row number 2. We can see S3 can be updated with the values H1 equals to 2, H2 equals to 4. So we can go check the matrix. It's currently infinity. Of course, 2 is less than infinity and 4 is less than infinity. So you can see it's updated over here. Again, we're going to go for a third row, and we can update S2 and S4 rows, S2 and S4 columns. And what we're going to do is that we're going to replace it for H equals to 3 and H2 equals to 2. So first let's check S2. So S2 is obviously infinity, so 3 is obviously less than infinity and 2 is obviously less than infinity. Go ahead and change that up. And for S4 you can see that there's currently 1 stored in H1, so 3 is greater than H1, so we're not going to change it up. So currently there's 1 in front of H2, and H2 over here is 2, so we're not going to change that up. So our final matrix will be the one where only S2 is updated and S4 is basically kept the same because it had smaller values than what these hash functions had. And again, we're going to go and repeat the step for row 3. S1, S3, and S4 can be updated. So we'll go and check S1. 4 is greater than S1. So no, we're not going to replace the 0 is less than 1. So yep, we're going to replace this up. Let's go, let's check. S3 can also be updated. Okay, so can we replace 2 with 4? No, because 4 is greater. 0, H2, yes, 4 is over here. And obviously 0 is, lesser than 4. We're going to replace that up. And now we can see S4 is also updatable. So 4 is greater than 1. We're not going to replace that. 0 is less than 1. So yes, we're going to update that. So you can see the values over here are updated, and H1 values are same because 4 is greater than all of the values here, 1, 2, and 1, right? And for the last row, we can see that S3 can be updated with the values of 0 and 3. So 2 and 0, what we're going to do is that we're going to check if 0 is less than 2. Yes, it is. So we can replace that up. Is H2 value 3? greater, replaceable with 0? No, it can't be replaced because 3 is obviously greater than 0. That's why we can't replace that up. And so, we repeated all this process, and our final resultant signature matrix is this one. And now let's check if it actually really worked. So, now we have compressed our entire, for each, document, for each set, we've basically created this signature, for computing similarity. Let's see how accurate it is. So for the Jacquard similarity, you know how to compute it, right? It's basically intersection over union. So intersection wherever there's ones in both of the columns, right? 2. And wherever there's one in either of the columns, that's basically comes under union. So you could see there are 3. 2 over 3 is a Jacquard similarity. And for the signature matrix, what we're going to do is compute it for S1 and S4 too. So you can see it's exactly the same, meaning that it's going to be 1. So 1 probability and 2 by 3. I mean, it's still pretty near, right? It's just an approximate. There's still chance for false positives and false negatives, but you can see it's quite, near. Again, we can see for another example, S1 and S3, you can see it's actually 1 by 4 because the Jacquard similarity is 1 by 4, meaning that there's one element that comes in both of them, and either one comes here. And then if we use it, see over using this min hash signature that we created, we can see that only one values agree, right? H2 values agree, but H1s don't agree, meaning that the similarity is 1 by 2, and this is 0.5 and this is 0.25. Still, they're really, really near. Again, let's go for S1 and S2. We can see for the signature that none of the values agree, like H1 don't agree, not H2, so the similarity of S1 and S2 is 0. However, you can see over here that Jacquard similarity is actually 0 too, because there's no row wherever there's one in S1 and S2 both. So this is a really good estimate, and if you want a signature that computes a similarity very near, you can obviously increase the hash functions, and that of course will take up more space and will require more computation, but the accuracy might definitely increase. And this is about it for our lecture. Thank you so much for attending. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.